Oh, hi. I might have to break this video up since I still can't go live. I'm still looking for, if I have less than 50 subscribers, please subscribe so I can go live. I won't have to worry about it. Spoilers for Raised by Wolves, Season 2, episode, are we on 4 now? 4? You must be kidding, aren't you? Um, so I noticed that in the opening, I noticed that they changed it up this season and how that you see the tree at the end. Uh, and I didn't think anything of it, but obviously you also see the ship not just coming to the planet, but going into the water or acid, however you want to look at it. So the tree, I noticed, is under the water. The thing's going into the water. That's where the tree is. A clue, perhaps? Is the tree of knowledge going to be in the acid waters? What else is in the acid waters? Because apparently something. So I thought that was interesting that I realized that about that. And I was watching the podcast for episode 3, and one of the something executive producers or whatnot, they were talking about Father's project. You know, the dead robot body. And I don't know if didn't even realize because they just blew right past it like it was nothing, or if that was an accident that in retrospect they weren't supposed to. But she referred to the android specifically as grandmother. I think that's what the android is going to end up being referred to as once it finally comes to fruition, which apparently might be next week. But that seems to be grandmother, which again, if that's true, hello. Um, so that's interesting. And then again, I'm just gonna throw random stuff that I took notes about the episode. Nothing too major. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing. Zombie Bird I thought was pretty cool. Mother takes the chip from the video game system. That's one way to do it. You know, my son wasn't too thrilled about that. He's like, you could just turn it off. You don't have to break the video game system because she was playing when you told her to turn it off. Anyway, so she takes the chip from that and puts it into the bird because she's trying to figure out a way to control the snake. And she controls the little zombie bird flying around. And then he falls. That was crazy. Is she going to end up controlling that snake? Who knows? Um. Oh, yeah. So then we see something that may have been the thing that killed them one kids that pulled the thing under, but I'm guessing there's probably more creatures because who knows what's on this planet. There's probably more creatures in that acid, and we discover what I thought in my first viewing was just one of those things that we haven't seen for a grip, the devolved people on this planet. Um, and he was, was impenetrable by the acid. The acid didn't affect this creature. And I'm like, oh no, that must be the thing. But on my second viewing, I noticed like a mirror thing, and it's like a fish. It was like a fish creature. So there's different versions of this similar creature. Who knows how many different versions there are? Does that make the snake? Because the snake is not. Oh man, I'll just get going and going if I get into the real. That's why I want to go live, so I can just bloody 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 blah about all this random philosophical stuff that pops in my head while I'm discussing these things. But it's crazy. There's more versions of creatures that look the same, but they're, I'm the fish one, and the acid doesn't hurt me. Does that mean the acid doesn't hurt the other ones either? Or are they all different in their own way depending on the environmental needs? Um, and I said before, I couldn't wait till Mother versus Marcus, and then we got Mother versus Marcus. They're not messing around. They're like, you know what? We've got some loose threads. Let's get rid of those threads. We're not going to leave certain things dangling for too long, like I thought they would. They're like, no, we apparently have a lot of story to tell. And I don't know if they're going to get the full 3 or 4 seasons to tell it. We'll see. I hope so. But Marcus versus Mother was amazing. But then what I didn't see coming, I thought he was digesting these things this whole time, but he, I guess, swallowed the eyeballs whole, and she's able to just take them right back. That was interesting. In the bonus feature behind the scenes thing after the episode, the creator of the show specifically says she used magnetism to get them out, and she was able to once she got close enough to them, that's when she realized that they were inside of his body, and which is how she noticed that they were. And then her powers cover. It's crazy. This episode was chock full of just craziness. For example, so now Mother has her powers back, and Marcus doesn't have powers anymore because he doesn't have the eyes anymore. So he's back to normal Marcus. That'll be an interesting thread twist plotting all around. So then we got Paul, who we get the mouse back, yay, and then the mouse ends up being this deadly weapon, a viral weapon, and then so Paul gets all scaly. At first I was like lizard person, even his eyes, but then I noticed like the snake. Is he turning into some kind of snake? Is it going to be some kind of snake creature? I think he's turning into something. Because at first it's like, oh, my skin's all scaly, okay, but then by the end, when like he's getting carried around by Mother and whatnot, he's a literal cocoon. Like, he's a full shell, crusted over. He seems to be in a cocoon. And then at the end, we see he's hooked up to these things. He's back with his mom. But he's straight up a cocoon. Whatever comes out of that cocoon is not, if it's, well, whatever it is, it's not going to be the Paul that we're used to. It's either going to be Paul much different or something completely different from Paul. But Paul's going through a metamorphosis. Been there. Many times. He will rise again like the phoenix from the ashes of his cocoon. Anyway, sorry, I get distracted. It's a visual aid. I got notes. And then, will he become a snake? Maybe he's going to turn into a snake. Maybe this planet likes to come up with clever ways to make snakes. Oh, and then Mother, like, straight up says, look here, Trust. I ran into the Ark at the beginning of Season 1, and I was like, nah, and I crashed the thing. So I come across this computer atheist leader at the first half of, I guess we're like halfway through Season 2 already. First half of Season 2, I'm gonna shut you down. So she unplugs the Trust. Bye-bye, super underwater crystallic computer. He's gone. This will not help the people, only your children. So that was interesting. I really like the scene when the dude realizes it and he's like reporting, all the people are moving out of his way. Oh. Anyway, good stuff. I like this episode a lot. And then when grandfather and the kids get back to the village, we'll call it, the camp, the settlement, they kind of dust over this, which I realized on my second viewing. I realized he pours all the blood fuel. I love how they call it blood fuel. He pours all the blood fuel over the android. They think it didn't work. They leave. The android sucks up all the blood fuel. Then we don't see again until when Campion has his vision of soul in the forest. That's the android that Father grew. It's funny how he called it more farming than, technological tinkering. So that all adds up chronologically. That's what that was. And then when we come back, they kind of dust over the fact that the place pretty much looks ruined, and then they just distract us with Mother's speech. But Father's like, what happened here? What happened there was your little farming robot woke up and destroyed the place, I think, and then took off, showed itself to Campion, came back by the time that Father got home to discover the place was wrecked. Yeah, so was the whole frickin' settlement, dude. And then goes to see in the big cliffhanger his farming creation glowing in the room. That's going to be interesting, this new entity form that the creator referred to as. So now Marcus don't have his eyes, so Marcus goes back to his people. And they're like, you seem different. You don't seem the same. I don't think I like you anymore. You're not radiating this weird sensation of I need to follow you because you're all powerful. You seem like a normal guy all of a sudden. So Marcus is SOL now because ain't nobody gonna follow him now that he's not radiating the robot eyeballs. So this creature at the end, the glowing thing that Campion thinks is Soul and grandfather, or excuse me, and Father Gru, and I believe it's going to be referred to as grandmother. I still theorize is mother from the future or something, some kind of crazy explanation. But I think that's mother's remains, and he regrew mother, and she's a different form that achieved, kind of like achieving enlightenment, but only for androids. I mean, look at everything she's been through. She's gone from wiping out the. I'll wrap up my thoughts and feelings in a wrap up video here. That was pretty much most of my thoughts on this episode. But let me wrap some things up here real quick. Okie dokie.